Hi friends, welcome to the Breville Barista Express machine tour. I've been talking about making this video for a really long time, so I'm really glad to finally be sitting down and making this for you. This is going to be part one of a two-part video series. This is the machine tour where I just go through all the bits and pieces of features that you'll find on this machine and giving you any tips that I've picked up over the years of using this machine. I've had it for probably about 5 years, and there's little things that I've learned over time that might help you if you're looking for that sort of thing. If you just got this machine and you're looking for me to sit down with you and just talk about it, that's what I'm here for. So before we actually jump to the machine portion, let's talk about all the little accessories that come with it. This is going to be your best friend when you're steaming milk-based drinks. This is your milk pitcher. This is actually a really solid piece of equipment. I use this with my La Marzocco as well because it's a great size, it's a great weight, and it'll be good for you when you're starting to learn your temperature taking with your hand if you choose to do so. Your greatest best friend on this machine is this piece right here. This is your portafilter. You can change the baskets inside your portafilter really easily. You just take a spoon and you slide it up along the edge and just pop it out, and you replace it with any size that you decide that you want. I used the double filter basket all the time. It was the regular filter basket, not the double walled one. I liked to do all of the manual controls on my espresso, so this is the one that I used. I also made a slight modification to this, if you can tell. There's no black plastic piece on the inside. I popped that baby out a long time ago because the idea of plastic and hot espresso just bothered me a little bit, so I popped it out. Doesn't really have a huge effect on your output of your espresso other than maybe making the streams look a little bit more calm as they come out, but I would rather know by looking at it with less things interrupting my stream of espresso. Also with this, just so you know, you can unscrew your spout here for easier cleaning, which I note in the cleaning video as well. As for the accessories that come with it, this is pretty much what comes in your little cleaning kit. You have a grinder cleaning brush. You have, I don't know what to call this, but it's a little stabby tool that has a hole in it that you're mainly going to be using for your steam wand. This is to clean out any obstructions that might build up in the steam hole because it's only a one-holed nozzle. This hole right here matches up perfectly with the steam wand tip, so for easy removal. And then this, had to do some experiments to figure out what this tiny piece is. You probably can't even see it, but there's a teeny tiny little version of this on the other side. That's used to clean out any filter basket obstruction. So if you have any grinds that get stuck in there, you can use that. That took me a long time to figure out. And if I leave it in the cleaning video, you'll see me figuring it out. This is your Allen key. Do not lose this. Don't lose it. You might not know what to do with it, but in the cleaning video, we show you. This is to take out the screw in the group head so that you can clean the shower screen. I promise the shower screen does come out. This I've never used. This, I believe, is a coffee scoop. I'm not sure why you would need one so small, especially if you're drinking coffee as much as me. I just dump it straight from the bag. So that exists, but I never use it. What you also have underneath, this is the drip tray, by the way. We'll get to that a little bit later, but if you slide the drip tray out, there is a little magnetic toolbox in the back. That's where I keep all the other things I don't use, which is the single shot basket, both the regular and double walled version, and the double walled 2-shot basket. I also have in here, you may feel like you want to use it. I never did. That's why it looks the way it does. But this razor tool, this I just used my finger. And I never really found that this was helpful for me, so I never used it. So if you feel like you should be using it and you don't know why, I didn't know what I was supposed to use it for either. It just didn't help me very much. So I keep those things that I hardly use in there. Also, I actually do use the single shot double-walled basket, but just for cleaning with this rubber gasket right here. You'll see those pop up in the cleaning video as well. All right, so let's talk about the machine itself. This guy has been my BFF for about 5 years, and every morning when I woke up, the first thing that I did was turn this on. We'll talk about the buttons as we get there, so, as we start this little tour here. So up here, this is your control panel basically. You have your power button, your grind amount size, your filter size, your program button, your single cup or single shot button, and your double cup or double shot option. There is a hot water / steam light here, so if you turn on the hot water spigot or the steam wand, this light will come on to show you that. Over here, right here is the clean me symbol, or the clean me light. If this comes on, you'll definitely need to go through the cleaning cycle, which we'll talk about in the cleaning video in part 2. Here you have filter size. So depending on what basket you put in, you're going to want this light to match. So since I have the double basket, I'm going to switch that over, and that's all you have to do. Your grind amount, this is going to be setting how long your grinder is going to be grinding to make the amount of grounds that you want. This is a semi-automatic machine, so I used it almost completely manually as much as I could, but you can set these buttons to pull your shots automatically for you. You just press the single or the double button and it will pull the shot for as long as you need it to. Your adjustments on how well your shot come out are going to be made with a combination of the grind amount and the grind size dial on this side. The grind size dial is going to adjust the size of your grinds, like the coarseness or the fineness that you're grinding your beans down into. The thing with this is you have a scale of, I believe it's 1 is the finest you can go. And then on the other end of the spectrum, 16 is the coarsest you can go. I have never been up in the 14, 15, 16 range. I typically ended up anywhere between 9 and 3 usually. But that just depends on how you want to adjust your grind. Hi guys, editing Anna here because I'm realizing that I didn't even mention the pressure gauge at all. And it's kind of right in the dead center of the machine. So quick overview on the pressure gauge. That is important because it will tell you whether or not your grind is too coarse or too fine depending on where the needle lands. There's a espresso range that you're looking for, which is at about 1 o'clock when you're looking at it, depending on which way this video is for you, but that is a really good reference for you. You're gonna want to look at that every time you pull a shot, and I can't believe I didn't mention it. So if you want to learn more about utilizing the pressure gauge in your shot pulling, that can be in a separate video about really dialing in your shots. So back to the video. So this filter basket is going to decide how much you're going to put in. This is an 18-gram basket, so you're probably going to also want to invest in a scale if you're going to really adjust or dial in your grinds to be where you want them to be. Continuing our tour, this is your grinder half of the machine, and this is your espresso half of the machine. So when you are thinking about potentially getting a new machine, I always recommend this one because it comes with both. If you are planning on getting just a machine, Breville does make other versions that are just an espresso machine, but you're also gonna need an espresso grinder or a grinder that's gonna be able to grind fine enough. And if you don't already have one, that's an additional expense for you. So having all of this in one small footprint is pretty much ideal in my book if you're starting in the espresso journey. This is your hopper. This is where the beans will be sometimes stored and fed into your grinder. You can't see the grinder from here, but If you open this up, you can unlock the hopper and the hopper completely removes. It's actually completely sealed on the bottom. So if you have beans in here, you can lift them up, clean out your grinder if you need to for whatever reason, and then lock that right back in. I usually kept a certain amount of beans in there at all times. I never really had any issues, so you can do the same if you want to. You can also do single dosing. Down here is where the continuation of the grinder is. Your grinds are going to come out here, and your portafilter fits perfectly right in there, and you can pretty much set it and forget it. The activation button is in the back here. You can see right here, that's the activation button. And it perfectly lines up with this little knob right here. So when you put this in here and you want to activate the grinder to start grinding your beans for you with your grind amount size, your grind amount dial and your grind size dial all set, you just push it in and it will grind the beans for you. Right next to the grinder is your tamper. It's stored with a magnet, and this little guy is a perfect size for me. I have little hands, so I'm able to hold on to the entire tamper here and feel the edges of where I'm tamping, and I just realized that that's kind of dirty. It's actually something that I prefer compared to the tampers that I have now that are made for a lot bigger hands than mine, but I love this little guy. It's just plastic and a little bit of metal, but it does the job. Okay. Moving over to the other side of the machine. This is the control area for your steam wand and your hot water dispenser. Depending on which side you decide to set it to, you have two symbols on the side there. The little like cloud is your steam, and the two water droplets is your hot water. So if I turn this to hot water, this is probably going to make a little bit of a mess. I like to use that more so for preheating all my cups. If I have hot water to fill for an Americano, sometimes I would use that as well, but mainly I use that to preheat. And for your steam wand, you go to the other side, that's going to activate the steam wand. A little tip about that. It takes a little while for this machine to build up enough steam pressure to really make good foam. It's also a single boiler, so you're not going to be able to pull a shot and steam milk at the same time. That was probably the one thing that bothered me the most about this machine. I would pull a shot and then I'd have to wait. I'd have to let the shot sit there while I built up enough steam pressure to be able to push enough steam out into my milk to make steamed milk. So let's say we just pulled a shot. What I would do is just point this straight down into the drip tray and turn it on and wait. And wait. And wait. That's going to push out any water or condensation that's built up. But what you want to wait for is the strongest steam you can get. It's probably right about there. And as you might have seen, my hot water spigot was dripping. What the machine was doing just then was releasing the steam pressure from inside the boiler in case you wanted to pull more hot water. But my hot water spigot was dripping. There is a way to fix that. I obviously haven't done that on this machine, but you replace the gasket that's inside. It doesn't really bother me that much, so I haven't done it, obviously, but it is possible to fix it. I would say that The steam wand can get a little frustrating because it isn't the most powerful steam wand that ever exists, but it is powerful enough to make a good steamed milk and to do latte art. Alongside with this little guy, as long as you're filling it up to the right level and you're hitting the right angle and you're practicing, you are able to make some really bomb lattes with this. In the back here, this is your water tank. It is removable and it has a built-in water filter. I do recommend you use already filtered water or spring water when you're using this machine because you don't want any additional contaminants to get in and build up inside the machine. You might want to look into testing out your water, checking out your water hardness before you put anything like that into this machine. If anything, maybe get some big bottled containers from the store if you want to really invest in good espresso in your house. You want this thing to last, you know, if you're going to invest in it, you want it to last forever. So this just lifts right out. Super simple. That's pretty much it. Inside there, I can pull it out so you can see it, but you open it up by lifting up the handle. And you can actually, I believe, pull it out by the handle and carry it this way. But inside your water tank is your water filter housing. I already have a new filter in there, so I'm not going to take it out, but there's also a setting for when you replace it so that you remember when to actually put in a new one. I never looked at that. I would set it with the intention of using it to remind me, but honestly, you're better off with setting an event in your phone instead. So this drip tray is actually 3 parts, and it does have a little bit of a collection inside of it right now from the steaming that we did. But this is your main tray. This is where all your cups, and if you have a scale or anything like that, that's going to sit right on here. This is probably going to get pretty dirty because of the extra grounds that might fall out, but this lifts off really easily. And you'll definitely want to clean under there regularly. As you can see, we have a little bit of grounds that have already built up here from when I was cleaning it earlier, but this also lifts out. This is kind of a pain in the butt to clean, I'm not going to lie, because what you'll see up here is that in these areas, the water will come down into here and it will drip out into 2-3 different places. There's a little bit of a channel right here, and unless you have really small fingers or some pipe cleaners, it's really hard to get in there. Also, if you forget that underneath in this collection area that you have leftover espresso shots or grinds or water, this can end up creating algae and it gets really gross and slimy. You're going to want to clean that regularly as well. It can get a little smelly. Right here is the empty me, I'm going to call it a buoy, because when you have enough water built up in there, once all of this is set up, this is going to float on the water and it's going to lift up and it's going to say, empty me! And it will overflow if you don't listen to it, so you'll get the hint. So just for a heads up, if you really want to improve your espresso making skills with this machine, there are a couple of things that you may want to buy in addition to this. It comes with everything that you need to start making coffee right away, but if you really want to get into the nuances of pulling shots, you will want to get yourself a scale that's going to measure in grams, and ideally you'd like it to measure to the 1/10 of a gram. When you're making espresso, you're basically making yourself a recipe, which is how many grams in you're putting of coffee, how long your shot is taking to pull, and how many grams out you're getting into your shot. That is a whole different video, but to create your recipe in a good tasting shot, you want to be able to replicate it. So if you have your scale there to be able to back you up on what your measurements are, if you pull a good shot and you know what your measurements are, you're going to be able to recreate it. I also recommend a couple of things in the cleaning video, which is part 2. Those are the cleaning tablets because the machine only comes with 2, and more water filters that go in the tank. But other than that, get yourself some good beans and you've got yourself a powerhouse of a machine. I love this thing, and it has gotten me through some really hard mornings and has created Anna's coffees, basically. So if you have any questions about how to use certain parts of this machine, we can go deeper into that in the comments or in Instagram DMs, either way. Such as programming your shot times and adjusting your grind size to be the right size. We can definitely talk about that individually. But if there's anything that I missed, please let me know, and I'll be glad to talk about that with you later. Andy, did I miss anything? All right. Thank you for watching the Breville Barista Express machine tour. I'll see you in part 2 for the cleaning process. Okay, bye.